morning and welcome to the news review segment of the Power Breakfast Show on this Monday, the 14th August 2017. We'll be looking at what's making headlines in the papers today, and together with me in the studio to do that is Gabriel Muduma, who is a political scientist. I also have Sandra Ochola, who is a lawyer, and Eric Oduor, who is the Secretary General of the Kenya Union of Journalists. We're expecting Shifa Okore, who is Vice Chair Ukweli, a political party. But for now, a quick look at what's making headlines. The Daily Nation: Raila calls a strike as an ease calm returns. NASA to release on results, spell out way forward tomorrow, Tuesday. Kidero and Nyong'o call for end to protests in Kisumu and Nairobi. And go back to work, says Ruto, as normalcy returns to many areas. Also making headlines, of course, the picture on the front page of the Daily Nation is NASA leader Raila Odinga addressing supporters in Mathare, Nairobi yesterday, where he had gone to console the family of a girl who was killed by a stray bullet during the skirmishes. Also on the front page is what next for Ruto after loss to Laboso. Combative politicians' absence will be felt now that he's been consigned to the political cold after the defeat in Bomet. 12th Parliament opens next week, according to the Daily Nation. Newly elected MPs will pick Speaker and Deputy Speaker after being sworn in. More on that back page of the Daily Nation. Of course, by law, it's expected that they should be having their first sitting not later than 22nd of this month, August. That is after the president, who is constitutional and mandated to give exactly which date the first sitting of Parliament is. Also on the front page, a story that break away from the politics and the heat is Manu routing West Ham United. Romano Lukaku makes a dream debut for Manchester United in the Premiership. The Belgian scoring twice in a 4-0 rout of West Ham. That and more in the sports pages of the Daily Nation. Boycott work, Raila tells supporters as he visits Kibera and Mathare slums. More on that on page 2. Page 3, NTV, nation bias against us, says Orengo. An attack on the press by the opposition yesterday when they visited Kibera. We'll be looking at that in details. And Nairobi residents send home more than 60 ward representatives as they pick only 24 back out of the regional 85 who are in the first Nairobi County Assembly. Pictorials on page 4 and 5, different moods, people carrying stones, others accepting their losses. Deputy President-elect William Ruto in church yesterday, as well as other photos from across the country. NASA criticizes election observers on verdict. That can be found on page 6 of the Daily Nation, and pages 8 and 9. Calm returns to Nairobi streets and estates as Nyong'o calls for end of protest in Kisumu. Police say only 6 dangerous criminals were killed during the protest. That is according to police spokesman George Kinoti, and that can be found on page 9 of the Daily Nation. Like I told you earlier, back page of the Daily Nation, new MPs will be sworn in next week, says Duale. Garissa MP indicates he will seek to defend his seat as majority leader when legislators meet to pick fresh leadership team. At the same time, Kuppet in limbo as top brass elected to Parliament. The Teachers Union, the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, will look for new leaders following the election of 3 of its top decision makers to the National Assembly. The chairman, Omboko Milemba, Assistant National Treasurer Ronald Tonoi, and apparently Omboko Milemba won the Muhaya seat. Ronald Tonoi won the Bomet Central seat. And Catherine Wambilianga, who is the gender secretary in Kuppet, won the Bungoma women's representative position. A quick look at the Standard. Front page, Uhuru next steps. Now, according to the Standard, if Raila Odinga or the civil society activists do not petition IEBC's Friday declaration of Uhuru as the president-elect for a final term, then he is poised to be sworn in on August 29th. The 2 houses of Parliament are supposed to start sitting in the week leading to the swearing-in ceremony. Also on the front page, religious leaders call for peace among the flock as casual laborer beats odds to win MCA's seat as an independent. He's called the Avocado Man, and this happened somewhere in Chemosot Ward in Bureti constituency. Quite interesting news there, added to what happened in Meru, where 23-year-old university students also managed to beat big names to clinch parliamentary position. Finally, CAM returns to Nairobi, Kisumu as police deny killings. That can be found on page 5 of the Standard. And State House cautions on violent protests. State House spokesman Manoa Isipisu is quoted as saying the violent protests are unlawful. So let's be perfectly clear here. Police will not tolerate breaches of peace, and instead they will protect the lives and property of Kenyans. They will restore law and order. Governor who fought many bids retained seat, that is Governor Martin Wambora of Embu. A number of times there were attempts to impeach him, but he managed to get back every other time. More about the swearing-in ceremony can be found on page 8 as Raila calls for work boycott and condemns poll observers. Gentlemen and lady, I think there is no better way to start than what we have on the third page of the Daily Nation. NTV Nation bias against us, says Orengo. When they were in Kibera yesterday, the leaders of NASA, James Orengo and Raila Odinga were addressing gathering, and Orengo was quoted as asking the public not to watch NTV or buy the Daily Nation newspaper. From today, you should not buy the Nation newspaper. Do not watch NTV because it was not reporting the truth. Gabriel, what do you take of this?
Thank you. First of all, I think those were some unfortunate statements coming from the likes of Orengo, justified by the very fact that these are some of the few people who have been claiming that this nation must go through a revamping of how we've treated the media over the years. They've been actually pushing for what you'd call press freedoms. And so I've been asking myself, is this something that Nation did report or something that they did not report? I know for the past few days we have seen not only Nation reporters, but reporters who are covering the election, including those that were from the international realm, people asking very tough questions to these politicians. And I think that's where the problem could have emanated from. You are taken to task. If you're going to ask, or if you're going to report, or if you're going to give out a statement, substantiate it. And I believe that's where the problem came in. I think there is a particular question that Larry Madowo asked Orengo, and I think that's what started all these problems. And that was in particular to you are talking about 100 people that have been killed by police. Can you substantiate that? Can you tell us how you've arrived?
So you think this is more of having been put to account?
I think this is, it has all the hallmarks of that.
Sandra, listen to this. Focus fully on the killings of innocent protesters that is ignored by the local media. That's James Orengo talking to Wananchi and telling them, please give more attention to foreign media. The local media has decided to assume the protests and the killings. And here he goes ahead to even name.
Yeah, I agree with Gabriel. It's quite an unfortunate incident, and especially for a group that fought really hard for the Constitution. And for me, two things emanate from it. First is just how strongly do we believe in the constitutional freedoms. When we say you have the right to choice, you have the right to association, you have the right to conscience, to what extent are we allowing those with a different ideology, a different belief, a different value system than us, to what extent are we allowing them to be part of the debate? And I think it's pretty unfortunate that things are getting to where they are. And one thing for me that's been very clear is the fact that we are pretty good at apportioning blame, where we point fingers and failing to see the responsibility or the role.
An escapist attitude.
Yes, failing to see the role that we ourselves are playing in it. So it is my hope that as we're moving forward, things are going to get better, sobriety will kick in, and particularly on the issue about the deaths, accountability will be made available, and those who suffered any losses will be made accountable. And that is one thing that I think we've been seeing through the media. And even for the police, they've made it known that any police officer who will be found culpable of killings will be brought to book. And I think that is the idea that we need to move forward with, that we want our institutions working, we want our institutions holding people accountable, and we want all of us to play a role in letting this situation let up.
Eric, you are the Secretary General of Kenya Union of Journalists, and this remarks by Orengo yesterday come hardly 24 hours after the acting Interior CS Fred Matiang'i was live on air in a number of channels talking about commending the media, Somebody said, when you see the government commending the media, then you smell a rat.
Yeah, exactly. I'll associate myself with such assertions, because when the government actually and the media still seems to be having a very good relationship, then that means that there is something wrong. Secondly, based on what James Orengo said yesterday, I think as the media we need to probably reach out to him and find out why is he making those remarks. Because I can assure you that right now, if you are arrested after this show out, the first person I'll look for is James Orengo to go and defend you in court, and he does that without pay. So Orengo is one of the lawyers actually whom I rely on so much when it comes to defending
as a union.
He is as a union actually in court without paying him, without him be giving us a fee note. So then number two, I think Orengo is coming from because there have been issue of fake news actually that has been circulating so much in the social media, and I think media is being accused of crimes of omission. The media did not do this because probably on social media the fake news has been spreading a lot of lies and numbers of people who have been killed.
And when Wananchi don't see that on mainstream
media, then it becomes a problem. So the issue here is probably the politicians, they believe that the media is not pushing their narrative, that so many people have been killed. And the media actually has to verify this information before they put it out to the public.
Should the media be pushing their narrative?
The media should not be pushing the narrative of the politician. The media, the first responsibility the media has is to the public. So if the public is dissatisfied with the work of the media, then I think I will be worried, because that means that the public will be losing trust and confidence in the media.
Gabriel, we are looking at a situation like Eric says, the media, the mainstream media has been bashed left, right and center. From the day of election all the way to now, for not telling the truth, hiding the truth, like he says, commissions and omissions. Was this warranted?
You see,
was this blame warranted?
I don't think it was, and I'll tell you why. You see, first of all, as a reputable media, I'm not talking about the fake news. You've seen what some of the media houses have gone through after reporting something which became false again. So the media, they also have a very critical and important part to play by verifying that which is being disseminated. If they are on the ground trying to collect information, and that information is not adding up or tallying to what the politicians are saying, because politicians have been known to spin things out of reality. So if it's upon the media to look at the information, gadget it on that information and decide, is this what we want to get to the people, even though it is unconfirmed, and what will this information do when people receive it? So the media has a very critical role to play. You see,
censorship,
of course,
what will it do?
And actually that is what we've been actually castigating the media for not doing. But now, all of a sudden again, we've taken a back seat and saying the very same thing we ask them to do, when they do it, again we still have a problem.
And did the media fail to ask the critical questions?
I believe the media has been asking the critical questions, particularly from my perspective, in a bid to clarify issues, in a bid to verify issues before they air it. And for me, this discussion takes me back to 2007 and the claims of the role that the media played in propagating the violence at that time, where most times it was airing videos that could be perceived at that time as propagating violence. And so I think that what perhaps the media is trying to do is to bring some sense of to measure what they're doing, to ensure that one, we are maintaining the sobriety that is required, and two, we are not flaming violence. So
is that their role? Maintaining sobriety?
Responsibility.
Yes.
Responsibility and creating a balance where you are meeting your mandate while also putting your country on the forerunner.
This difficult question, Eric, always comes. Are you a Kenyan journalist or are you a journalist from Kenya? First thing.
I am a journalist, and a journalist has got the responsibility of telling the public the truth. And I think I'm one of those people who always believes, and I've always stated, it is not the responsibility of the media to preach peace. It is that people, we have got various agencies that are supposed to be doing that. For example, you've got National Integration Cohesion Commission. That is their work, to make sure that there is cohesion and integration in the country. It's not the work of the media. There is a police that is supposed to maintain peace and law and order. There is religious leaders who are supposed to preaching values and moral values in this country. And so are you saying the media should say it and put it exactly as it is? That is then where does the word responsibility come in?
Yeah.
And when the media doing this, and the law is very clear. I actually look at Article 33 of the Constitution, the freedom of expression, and I think there's only limitations there where the media is supposed to be looking at. And number one of them is incitement to violence. The number two is propaganda for war. And I think those are the only limits that actually the media, those are the only areas that the media is not supposed to go into those particular areas. But if you look at Article 34 of the Constitution, the media has got the right to do their work without any interference from the government or commercial interest. So these things are very clear. So the issue, when the issue comes of people pushing the media to start adopting their narrative, that's where we lose it. And that is why the media is being accused this time around, because the politicians, probably they expected too much from the media, that the media is going to push the narrative of the politicians. Is it the politicians or the public? It's the politicians. And where the public comes in, and what I've also had the complaint I've heard from the public, people expected even the media to come up with their own tallying centers and their own results and announce them, which did not happen. And that is why you see people expected the media to conduct an election. Exactly. People expected the media to conduct an election. And that's why I'm saying that it's not the responsibility of the media to conduct an election. That responsibility rests with the Electoral Commission. So when the media did not do that, because we now only have results from IEBC, and the politicians who also had promised the public that they're going to have their tallying center, they haven't released the results. So people expected the media that the media is also going to release their results, then these results are compared with what IEBC has released. So the media is waiting for everybody who says they have a tallying center. And that's where the problem is.
I think that's, you know, could the media have developed these narratives in the mind of the public? You see, in fact, by using that narrative, you're already creating an imbalance. The media houses, they don't have what it takes, you know, to be on the ground, to be in all tallying centers and to have their own tallying centers. I mean, what they can do, and that's what they were given by IABC, was a feed, and they were collecting data and bringing people, or you know, analysts, to look at how they can project. So you're saying the media was a conveyor belt? They've always been, and I agree with that. They've always been a conveyor belt. When Eric says that media are not supposed to be peacemakers, I think that is wrong, because albeit the fact that we want them to preach the truth, albeit the fact that we want them to bring out the truth, they must also censor that. They must ask the questions: where is this actually? Is this the truth as is, or is somebody trying to bend that truth? And that's why I'm saying, so when the media is asking a question, when they need clarity, when you say 100 people have been killed and you cannot show that, when you say the election has been stolen but you still cannot prove that, the media has a role to play, to question, you know, and push you to give them evidence, failure to which they cannot write or publish something that's not verified. If they go past that, then we'll also hold them to blame for publishing things that are not verified or things that are false. So it's more like what Sandra said, it's damn if you do, damn if you don't. And it's a very bad situation we are putting our media.
Sandra, media is one institution that has had very high ratings in the eyes of the public as we headed towards the election, probably the highest. What are we looking at now?
I do agree, and just like you said, a good number of our institutions, they do not work in a vacuum. Most of their actions or most of their missions, so to say, are most often, to a large extent, determined by what's happening around them. And so, as we were moving towards the election period, there wasn't so much tension as what we are seeing now. Yes, people were divided, but after the verdict, I think this has moved, where now people are asking you to take a side. You are either with us or you are against us. And that is at an individual level, at a communal level, and even now at an institutional level.
If you say a good thing against my enemy,
yes, if you say a good thing against us. If you say a good thing about my enemy, you are against us. If I say something, if I perceive you to be in bed with the other side of the party, then you are against us. And I don't think that's the way to go. What we are lacking is a common vision for ourselves moving forward. And it's not only at a personal level, it should be at a communal level, it should be even within our institution. What vision do we have for for our country moving forward, and what role can we play collectively in meeting that vision?
Before we move on, I'll give Eric a chance to wrap it up. Your take on this issue about the media going to bed with the government. Eric said, the moment you see the government complimenting the media, then you know there is trouble.
Yes, and the media should always be guided by the truth, regardless where that truth is coming from. And that is why what's happening right now is that the media is now expected by the public to dig deeper and even do a lot of investigations, and now come up with the proper information, what actually happened during these elections. At this particular time, and given what was happening, I think that time the focus was so much about the results. Now the results have been released by IEBC. The media still has a chance right now to dig deeper and find out what really happened. Were the IEBC systems hacked, as the opposition claimed, or elections rigged? Then we tell the public that is our work, that actually this is what happened, and this is the truth.
Gabriel, I need us to move on, but this question keeps lingering back and forth, through and through. Where is the position of the media moving forward, especially with the advent of social media?
Well, now, you see, social media is a different ballgame altogether.
Is social media the threat to mainstream media here?
I think,
because like Eric said,
I think that
because of social media, the public expects the media to put everything they see on social media. When they don't see it,
I think that could be it, and the reason is this: when you go to what I call the pages, or the social media pages that
the platforms,
these broadcasters have, like yours, you know, Citizen TV. If you go on your social media, you'll see you have a lot of followers. Go to NTV, probably same thing. You are grouped as some of the media houses that actually carry a lot of
big social media followers.
People who are actually waiting for you to update them. And so you have a role to play, and that's why I'm saying reporting things that are factual. And I agree with my friend when he says the role of the media is to disseminate truthful information. The minute you actually digress from that, whether it's coming from government or opposition, you are doing this country and the people at large, and people who are reading into that content, you're doing them a disservice. So when it comes to the social media, I think I was telling somebody that blessing which we were all given of the internet, many people are turning it into a curse. You just saw the police spokesman telling us that they've actually arrested
a guy in Kajedo.
And the fake policeman. Of course. And it is because of the kind of information that they were disseminating out there. So if you carry that information just because somebody has said it, and you continue, whether it's tweeting or retweeting, you are actually a carrier. And I believe those are the people who are the problem. The problem necessarily is not what somebody writes. A good friend of mine said the people who are actually negative in our social media are like 10%. The rest who actually carry that information and forward it, all right, those are actually the people who we need to cut out, you know, when we are talking about the social media vices. But we cannot fail to say that social media has come with great things. If we use that platform properly, the media can actually be a conduit where they disseminate information that can be helpful. But if we take the opposite of it, it is going to be chaos. So they have a platform, and they have to know how to behave in that particular platform, mainly on how responsible they become in that particular platform. Because I mean, if we use it for good, it will actually go a long way to ensuring there's good within our republic. If we try and use it for negative things, then we are to blame. We are to blame. And you know, the society is ripe right now because people think that the internet does not have a face. Tell you what, the internet has a face. At the end of the other side, there is somebody.
Somebody is monitoring you, and somebody knows what you're writing.
Of course. And that should be alive to majority of the people who come or who visit these social platforms. So I think as we move along, it does not really send a good picture when we say it's the wrong thing for media to be in bed with the government. I think those are some of the statements that should be run away from. I am not saying
from history. The media is called the fourth estate.
Exactly, but I'm not saying you censor everything that the government says or what the opposition says. The ground, the common ground should be, is what you're reporting factual?
Actually,
and based on truth?
let me just intervene. Looking at the composition of parliament as it is after the elections, actually the media should even have a greater role.
The media has a voice.
Actually should now be have a greater role and also play the role of opposition. Because if you have a parliament, and it's very dangerous that you have a parliament that could even have a 2/3 majority in the house. That means that this is a parliament that can do anything that the government wants.
We'll be looking at that.
And then here you have a government that is praising the media. This is have a government that is in bed with the media. Then there's a problem in the country. So the media and the government shouldn't be in bed at any given time.
I think for me, two very important questions. Is there anything that the government does right, regardless of which side you are on, pro-government or against government? Is there a point where you can say that anyway, the government has done something good today, I give credit where credit is due, and the government has done something terrible today, I'm going to criticize that? I think when we get to that point, a lot of these questions and discussions will be more mature, so to speak. But then for me, I also look at it from the perspective that social media, yes, it's good, it's a tool where people are able to be engaged, but then I don't feel that the place of the media is threatened as such. If anything, for me, it is a call for them. Yes, that's the conventional media. If anything, for me, it is an opportunity for them to go higher, to take a higher step, because I look at it from the perspective of the cases that were being reported. You have one end, the Human Rights Commission saying 24, you have the police saying 4, you have the opposition saying 100, and so if we left that discussion to go on social media, then we might never have known where the truth lies. And then the media now opens that.
We still don't.
The media then opens that platform and says, brings in stakeholders, brings in those involved, and they do their best to clarify the issues. And I think that's an opportunity that we cannot find on social media. So for me, it's a call to the media. Continue with what you're doing. Go a step higher. Be responsible. And let's all play I'm
surprised you're not talking about the risks that the media people were exposed to during this event, some of which may have hampered their telling the truth.
Exactly, that's what I'm telling you, that the issue here is we've got two platforms here. We have a social media that actually everybody is putting this anarchy there, everybody is putting any kind of information there. Then we have fake news. Then we have now the mainstream media. And now when the mainstream media is supposed to come in terms of verification or some of this information that we get on social media, then once you have verified, because you've got the capacity to do that, then you tell the public the truth. And that is why even if you look at the social media platforms run by the mainstream media, there are actually a lot of traffic there, because people see fake news on social media, then they go to the mainstream media to confirm if that is true. So the mainstream media still has got a very greater role in ensuring that actually the public gets accurate and objective information. Two, the danger was I'm talking about, when once you've seen the government complimenting the media, then the opposition attacking the media, it means that it reached a point where journalists will not move freely and do their work. And it happened. In Madara, actually, there are journalists who were attacked. Exactly. Because national journalists were attacked in Madara because they were perceived...
Because of this? Exactly. Apparently, maybe because of this statement.
No, actually that was the statement. The statement was that, nyinyi muko na serikali inatuua na mmekuja kufanya kazi. What do you want people? And actually they took away their cameras and their tools of trade. So you see, so that was the danger that actually when these statements are made, those are the dangers that actually journalists are exposed to.
So that must have been a bit careless.
Exactly. So once you've done that, and actually that's why I was saying that Orengo is one of the people actually I rely on when it comes to defending media freedoms. So when he has issues, I think he should bring them. Then we sit down and see what are the issues. Then we see how can we correct them, or are they genuine or they are not. So it's not about just dismissing what these people are saying, but the media actually in the next 5 years, the media is going to have a very critical role that it has to play, because in the elections when they are going, we've got three responsibilities. Number one, to the public, which is the most important one, to make sure that we give the public accurate and true information, so that when they are going to vote, they can make informed choices. Then we have got a responsibility to the politicians to articulate their issues so that they can be understood by the public. Then the most important one also is now to the nation, to make sure that we also have got a responsibility of giving the nation a quality leadership.
Keeping the nation. Before we take a commercial break, Boycott work. Raila tells supporters as he visits Kibera and Mathare slums. This is a topic that has been bashed over and over again since it was made yesterday. It doesn't break a bone because it's making headlines. Let's go and look at this. What is this really? There have been people who have been trying to spin it. They're saying because Raila said because there are the police on the roads, there are the military on the roads with guns, keep safe, stay in your houses. There are those who are saying, indeed he said, don't go to work until I tell you the way forward tomorrow.
You see, number one, it's actually an unfortunate utterance. And it was also echoed by Orengo. And I don't know why anybody would tell people to keep away. Unless you're telling me, you begin with yourself. You tell all the people who are around you to stay away from work. Tell your drivers, tell your bodyguards, don't come, stay away. You see, you cannot valuably send a message like that by telling people keep away, and you still are somebody who is looking to ensure that the economic betterment of our nation is actually realized. What of these people are going to take your word face value and take it seriously, and they abscond from work? We all know what the domino effects will be. People will be fired. People will be laid off. Majority of these people probably in the areas that we are talking about, the slums of Kibra and places like Mathare. If you go to Kangware, these are people who are casual laborers. So
you don't go out, you don't eat.
You don't go out, you do not eat. And probably you get fired. What do you become then? All right? The crime rate will definitely go up. That is just a domino effect when somebody is laid off or when somebody is not being productive. So it is wrong and erroneous to support such a narrative by telling people don't go to work and wait so that we can tell you what to do next. What is that must happen next? I think at this point we need to be very sensitive on what we are asking our supporters to do. These are not only supporters, but these are people who you are tied to emotionally. They believe what you're telling them. They believe that an election was stolen.
They believe in your ideology.
Everything, to the last go. So if you are going to disseminate, or if you're going to push people out there by telling them to do negative things or not to appear, not to be productive, I think as a leader, any person should castigate you. It is not an element of leadership for one who actually looks to ensure that the benefits that you have are curtailed. I don't think it's...
This statement, the perception, the way it sinks in people.
Yes. It's pretty unfortunate. It's for me, and it's a pretty unfortunate statement coming at this time. And for me, the question that I've been asking myself is towards what end? What is the end goal? Because civil disobedience, it's allowed. But then, at what point of the process?
Picketing is allowed.
Picketing is allowed. All that is allowed. But then, are we showing respect for those documents that we all stood at Uhuru Park, I mean, to promulgate? Are we showing respect to our institutions? Are we showing respect to those processes that even before the election we followed and we are very dedicated to? So that you go to the streets at a point where you say, we've tried the election, it failed. We've tried the courts, it failed. We've tried mitigation or mediation, it failed. So this is the only avenue we have left to get our voice heard. And even if you decide that that's the route you'd like to follow, what are the other processes that we know if we go this route is going to give us an ultimate win, is going to give us an ultimate way forward?
Eric, you defend the rights of workers.
Yes, of course, I defend the right of workers, and you look at it this way. And when Raila made that statement, look at Raila as a politician who is aggrieved based on the outcome of the elections. So, and also look at this, his supporters are also looking up to him to give him the way forward. Because you know that after elections results were announced, Raila hasn't spoken. He hasn't said, he hasn't conceded defeat, he hasn't...
so people are expecting a big announcement.
So people are expecting, there is a lot of expectation from whatever he's going to say. So when he told them that you guys relax, I'll talk to you on Tuesday, that is what you'll expect from him as a politician. Look at Raila as a politician. You see, maybe we are looking at him as somebody different, but he's a politician who is also pushing for political interest. So that is why when he's making that, because this is now his constituency, these are the people whom actually supported him and voted for him. So he's telling that, okay, yes, you voted for me, but our victory was stolen. I'll come back and talk to you. So that is how it is.
Stay put.
Yeah, stay put. you continue with whatever you've been doing, but until I give you a direction. Because these people are looking up to him for leadership or for direction. So it's upon us, and then as workers, then it's upon you as an individual
to make a decision.
That yes, I'm an employee, I'm supposed to be going to work, because if I don't work, like my colleague here said, I'm paid based on what I've produced, then I'll not have anything to eat. So when he has given you a political statement, so it's upon you as a worker to look at it. Is it in my interest not to go to work, or is it in his interest if I don't go to work? Then you make that judgment, then you take a decision.
Make that judgment and take a decision. We'll be right back after this short commercial break with Gabriel Muthuma, Sandra Ochola, and Eric Odwara as we look at what's making headlines in the papers this morning.